We're looking at the top 5 quarterbacks decade by decade. Today's focus, the 1950s. The 1950s kicked off with a partial merger between the NFL and the AAFC, bringing the Cleveland Browns, San Francisco 49ers, and Baltimore Colts into the fold. The Browns immediately proved that they were up to NFL standards by winning 3 championships in 5 years. Later on in the decade, the Colts proved themselves as well by winning the championship and first overtime contest in league history, dubbed the greatest game ever played. All right, let's get to the rankings.
At number 5, we have Y.A. Tittle. Y.A. Tittle was the Niners QB throughout the vast majority of the decade and played well enough to earn 4 Pro Bowl trips. At number 4, we have Johnny Unitas. Steelers head coach Walt Kiesling claimed that Unitas was not smart enough to be an NFL QB, and he released him. The Colts picked him up in 1956, and he quickly dominated, leading the league in TD passes 3 straight years, including a then NFL record mark of 32 in 1959. And who could forget his epic game-winning drive in OT of the 1958 NFL Championship versus the Giants. At number 3, we have Bobby Lane. Bobby Lane made 6 All-Pro teams during the decade and led the Detroit Lions to 3 NFL championships. He was dealt to the Steelers in 1958 and was so upset about it that he cursed the Lions franchise, promising them losing for the next 50 years. They haven't won a championship since. At number 2, we have Norm Van Brocklin. Norm Van Brocklin, also known as the Dutchman, threw the game-winning TD pass of the 1951 NFL Championship for his Rams. Earlier that season, he set the single-game NFL record for passing yards with 554, and it still stands today. He was a Pro Bowler in 8 of the 10 seasons of the 1950s decade. And at number 1, we have Otto Graham. Otto Graham only played 6 seasons in this decade, but he accomplished so much more than any other QB. He was named to the All-Pro team each and every year, led the Browns to the NFL Championship each and every year, winning 3 of them, and won the league MVP in 51, 53, and 55. All right, now it's time for the shout-outs. We've got Charlie Connerly, who led the Giants to a title and led the NFL in passer rating at the age of 38. We've got Eddie LeBaron. He stood at 5'7", but played big enough to earn Rookie of the Year in 1952. Tobin Rote, who had 4 TD passes in the 1957 NFL Championship game, and Bobby Thomason, who made 3 Pro Bowl trips during the decade.